It feels like every time a new product goes viral, a new skincare or hair care myth is born, and a lot of those are completely wrong. So let's bust the biggest hair care and skincare myths that are making the rounds right now. Hi, I'm Dr. Sam Ellis. I am a board-certified dermatologist, and I'm here to help you understand your skin and hair and nails and find evidence-based products that work for you. So if that sounds good, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and that you like this video. Myth number one that I must address is that more razor blades in your razor is going to give you a better shave. Maybe you've seen the commercials that are like 5 blades for the smoothest shave ever. And yeah, you will have a smooth shave, but the amount of irritation that can cause in your skin can be problematic for people. The reason for that is multi-blade razors can actually cause more irritation and more ingrown hairs in your skin. When that first razor blade crosses your skin, it actually kind of pulls the hair up out of the follicle so that the subsequent blades can cut it really, really close. But what happens is every time those subsequent blades cut the hair then falls back down below the skin's surface, so it's now sitting below the skin surface for when it needs to grow up again. And although that's gonna make your shave feel super close, it also means that you're at higher risk for ingrown hairs and irritation because your hair now has to go up through the skin surface, and sometimes it gets stuck. A sharp single blade or sometimes a dual blade razor is generally enough to get a very close shave without those ingrowns, without that irritation. Now, if you've been using a multi-blade razor and you're doing fine, you don't have ingrown hairs, stick with it. But if you're someone who struggles with beard bumps or folliculitis or really bad itch after you shave, consider reducing how many blades are in your razor. So if you want like a close, good shave, instead of focusing on how many blades are in your razor, focus on your technique. We generally want to be shaving skin that's warm and wet. This allows the hair to swell and be a better target for the razor. We also want to be using really short strokes, not these long pulls up your leg like you see in a commercial. And you also want to make sure you're not applying too much pressure to the skin. Just like having a multi-blade razor, if you apply a lot of pressure, it can actually shave the hair below the surface of the skin. And again, that's when you're at risk for ingrowns. I find this is particularly helpful for the beard area, especially for people who have curlier hair or thicker, coarser hair. I want to know my audience here. Are you guys more single blade, straight blade loyalists, or do you use multiple blades? Also, if you need more tips on shaving technique to reduce itchiness and ingrown hairs and razor bumps, I have many videos on that, and I even have some dedicated to certain areas that are hard to shave. Kind of staying on the theme of hair here, you can't use minoxidil if you have pets. This one's relatively new, but it is circulating fast. I think, in fact, I was one of the first dermatologists on TikTok to talk about the fact that you have to be careful with minoxidil if you have pets, and that suddenly turned into, okay, if you have a pet, then you can't use minoxidil safely at all. Aside from here, I do a ton of education on hair growth on TikTok, on Instagram. Follow me if you don't already. And almost always when I talk about minoxidil, I will have hundreds of comments sometimes being like, okay, but I have a cat or I have a dog, so this is a no-go for me. And I just want to adjust that thinking a little bit. And the main reason I want to address this is minoxidil is the only FDA-approved topical treatment for hair loss, and it's incredibly effective. More effective than any other over-the-counter hair serum or product you could ever imagine trying, at least based on the data that we have right now. So I don't want people just writing it off immediately if they have a pet. It is true that minoxidil is highly toxic to cats and dogs. For example, if you were to put minoxidil in your hair and not wash your hands and your cat licks your hand a few times, that could be lethal, especially if your cat is really small. Or for example, if you were to put minoxidil on your scalp and then sleep on your pillow many nights in a row and you've accumulated some minoxidil on your pillowcase and then your cat goes and sleeps on your pillow for a few nights in a row, that kind of exposure can be lethal. But there are some really easy things you can do to ensure this type of problematic exposure doesn't happen. Number one, you're gonna keep your topical minoxidil out of reach of your dog or your cat. You're gonna wash your hands thoroughly after you apply it, which you should do anyway because you don't wanna be like touching your face afterward and giving yourself a beard when you don't want one. And if you're going straight to bed and you have an animal that sleeps with you or likes to be on your pillow, you're gonna wanna use something like a little silk bonnet, and you can just tie it around your scalp, and that's going to keep your hair completely out of reach of your pets. Now, if you don't want to sleep with some type of protective hair covering, that's also totally fine as long as your animal doesn't sleep with you. You can just, in the morning, put a little fresh towel over your pillowcase so that your cat or your dog doesn't climb on your bed and roll around on it. Another option is just to apply your minoxidil in the morning and then take a shower at night and rinse it off. If you go to work or your cat isn't licking your head or your dog's not licking your head during the day, you're gonna be fine. The same way you keep grapes and chocolate and other toxic things away from your pets, you can do the same with minoxidil if you're careful. Now, obviously, this is not going to be practical for everyone, and if you're listening to me say this and you're like, nah, lady, like, I'm not doing all of that, you also could take oral minoxidil. It comes in a pill form, and that eliminates pretty much all of those steps. But I just don't want you to write off minoxidil completely if you have cats or dogs at home. I'm actually a little nervous to say it because I don't want people to like come for me because people feel so passionately about this, but beef tallow is not the ultimate moisturizer. Lately, especially in the last year or two, beef tallow has been all over social media as this miracle, clean, perfect moisturizer, and it is a moisturizer. It's just not perfect. I think people are really drawn to it because it's natural. It comes from the fat of a cow, but there are so many synthetically made ingredients like ceramides, allantoin, panthenol that have decades of safety and efficacy research behind them. Beef tallow doesn't have that. And again, I'm not saying beef tallow is bad. If you love it, do you, but it's not ideal for me because it's so thick and greasy and heavy, and it sort of mimics how I would use like Vaseline in my routine. So if you want to like do a one-to-one trade out, you could. It helps with occlusiveness, it helps soften the skin, but in terms of performance, I just don't think beef tallow is really the ultimate moisturizer because it's greasy on the skin, it often comes with like kind of a funky smell, and it just doesn't have these other amazing scientifically backed ingredients to boost its efficacy. Also, I have bought a lot of beef tallow products because I wanted to try them and see what the hype is about. And what I've noticed is they have a very peculiar aroma. And if they don't have that beef tallow aroma, they often have a lot of essential oils to mask that beefy smell. And now you've incorporated essential oils into your skincare, which can cause all types of problems like irritation, sensitivity, and allergic reactions. When I think of like the perfect moisturizer, I'm really thinking about a moisturizer that has a blend of 3 ingredient categories. It has humectants, so ingredients that help draw water to the skin's surface to give it that immediate plumpness. It has emollient ingredients, things that help smooth and soften the skin. And it has occlusives, things that are going to help trap water in the skin and prevent transepidermal water loss. And beef tallow just doesn't have that perfect trifecta. So I think if you're interested in beef tallow, not telling you not to use it, it's just a very thick, heavy type of moisturizer, and there are better, more scientifically backed moisturizers out there. So if it's meeting your needs, that's great, but if it's not, don't feel like there aren't going to be other moisturizers that can help you get where you want to go when it comes to your skin health. And my final myth for today is that you can't use retinoids and exfoliating acids like glycolic acid or lactic acid together. I not only hear this all the time, but I also get asked about it all the time because people use tretinoin or retinol, which are retinoids, in their skincare routine. And then they go, okay, but I also want to be using an exfoliant of some kind, but I can't because I'm using retinoids. Not true. I think there's some people out there who think they cancel each other out. So they think, okay, if you're on tretinoin and you're also using glycolic acid, they're somehow going to deactivate one another. That doesn't happen. And there's some people who just have heard the recommendation not to mix them because they can cause irritation. And that's really what I want to address. It is true that retinoids speed up cell turnover. They can cause dryness, redness, irritation, flaking, especially when you're first getting acclimated to them or if you use one that's quite potent. And the same thing can happen with exfoliants like glycolic acid or lactic acid. Those are ingredients that speed up cell turnover. And so if you have both of those things at the same time in a routine, it can be irritating for some people, but not for everyone. There are some people who are out there and blessed with super hardy skin, and they can use a glycolic acid serum in the morning and a retinol at night, or they can even use them both at night with no irritation. And if you're someone who can tolerate both at once, go for it. Exfoliants and retinoids both help with the appearance of your skin and the health of your skin. They stimulate collagen, they help with skin cell turnover, they help with brown spots, they help to correct fine lines. And if your routine isn't quite where you want it to be at with a retinoid alone, don't be afraid to incorporate an exfoliant if your skin isn't irritated. For example, I have rosacea, I have somewhat sensitive skin, but I use retinoids and exfoliants together in my skincare regimen. I will use my tretinoin usually 5 to 6 nights a week, and then on those off nights, if my skin is feeling okay, which usually it is, I will go in with my Prequel multi-acid milk peel. This has multiple exfoliating acids in it, and it's actually pretty potent, but I love what it does to my skin. I have that tretinoin working in the background on the collagen production, and then I have the multi-acid milk peel giving me that immediate glow. And when I follow that routine up with a good moisturizer, my skin does just fine. These ingredients can have very synergistic results as long as you're not causing too much harm to your skin barrier. So this is one of those cases where you need to listen to your skin, but as a rule, you don't need to avoid retinoids and exfoliants together. So those are some of the biggest dermatology myths that I hear right now. I think a lot of them stick around because people keep repeating them, or intuitively it sounds right, but they're not. If you learned something new today, definitely give this video a like and subscribe. If there are any other hair care or skincare myths out there that you want me to bust, also let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for being here. It's always great to have you. I'll catch you next time.